Now, speaking about parenting today, it is that show where we get to delve into different topics with the hopes of helping us to become better parents. It is a never-ending job, and that is why we usually have, aside from Yetty Williams, the CEO of Lagos Moms, we have amazing and fantastic guests on this show. Now, I have with me here an amazing guest off air. She looks so young. You barely even know she's had a child, but she's been playing mom to Zoe and even us in the studio. With me here, I have Mrs. Adebola Sobande, who is someone who manages the Palms Shopping Center. Now, she is a wife, and not just a wife, but an amazing mother of 2 adult children. I mean, aged 23 and 19. Now, like I did mention, she has played the role of mom in so little time, so you can tell that she is pretty passionate about children being able to, turn out well, fulfill their purpose, and the list goes on. Need I forget, she is also a practitioner with FSEP. That is amazing and formidable. By the way, guys, you already know it's your girl, Paula. It is good to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Thank you for having me.
It is great. And I must say, you look so pretty.
Thank you. So do you.
Amen. God win. All right, so let's quickly, without wasting much time, let's take a look at today's topic, because when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is commendable. It is something that we do not talk about a lot. And today's topic is grooming the male child for the current world. I want to know, I know we need to groom both the female and the male, but tell me why it is really important to groom the male child for the current world.
Okay, good. The male child is a very unique child. They do things in a different way, in their own way, and often it's very complex and complicated. When you tell a girl go, she goes. When you tell a guy go,
he says why?
Goes. He doesn't even ask you questions. He goes up and then he goes down and then to the left and to the right, and then he's distracted, and eventually you're not exactly sure if he understands what you asked him to do. And that is exactly what makes it a little unique with them. You've got to be sure they understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, because at the end of the day, the role that men play is really is huge. They're supposed to be the provider, the protector. They're the ones who are supposed to guide women, basically, the way the world makes it look. So at the end of the day, you're giving a child huge responsibilities. They need to clearly understand what is expected of them.
Wow, I like that you said that. Thank you so much, Mrs. Adebola. Now, the thing is, when it comes to responsibilities, we know that there are so many expectations that the male gender might be burdened with. Right. Do you think perhaps this plays a role in a man's, would I say, that little bit of rebellion, not doing what you ask of them, or perhaps just being overwhelmed, even if it's not rebellion, just being overwhelmed with all of these expectations and societal norms? A man shouldn't cry, a man should be strong, a man has to always provide, a man has no excuse to fail. Do you think this plays a role?
I think so, and that is really why we need to ensure that we do what is right for them, with them, so that by the time they're grown up, they know exactly what, it's not so difficult on them.
Oh, wow.
That's why raising the male child is very different.
Do you have 2 sons?
I have a daughter and a son.
And a
My
son.
son is the oldest. And I can tell you, I have
he has a mind of his
yes.
own.
Boys are unique. Some people the boys are different, but I tell you, majority of my friends will tell you the boy children are different.
Now, when you say they're different, can we highlight on some of we know the positive, all children are blessings, but the negatives, can we elaborate more on that, perhaps?
Let me give you, I like what you've just said. Let me give you a typical scenario. When a male child is in school, if you ask a male child, how are you doing? He says, fine. Sincerely, when a male child tells you he's doing fine, you should be worried. He's likely not to be doing fine. And, because they don't talk so much. So you find out that you have to have the right questions, so that when they give you the answers, it's not just monosyllables. Otherwise, you have a child who is about to be kicked out of school, and he's telling you he's fine, because in his own understanding, he's actually fine because he thinks he can make it up. But it's not fine. And that typically is how a lot of boy children that I know are. You would think they've got it together because they've told you fine. A child is about to be kicked out of school and he's telling you he's fine. I mean, how fine can that be? For me, that's the biggest negative with boys. They don't say much, but you've got to be able to look in between the lines. You know, when you have a boy child in secondary school, in boarding house, you don't take it that I spoke to him and he's fine. You've got to see them. When you go to school to see your son, when you see his countenance, you know what's going on.
Really?
I mean, I once went to my son's school and he said everything was good, and I got onto a plane the next day, and as soon as I landed in Lagos, I got a call back from school. Come back to school. That's how the boy child is. Most male children. My sister also has boy children, and that was the first thing she said to me. She was the one who dragged and said, you know what? When a boy child tells you he's fine, he's actually not fine. So you've got to find out that he's really fine. And you've got to read in between the lines. You've got to, go in between those lines. Go right in between those, what you don't even see. And then you can then begin to talk about it.
Now, the thing is, I love that you mentioned there are certain questions that would extract the right answers. Can you give examples of these questions? Because the average parent says, if you tell me you're a good thing, you must be good. Some people do not have the intuition like you are as a mother who pays attention. Remember, you are someone who's passionate about the well-being of children. So that gives you an upper hand. And a lot of listeners are willing to learn. Even I'm just learning for the first time, or rather I'm unlearning the fact that if a man says he's okay, he might not be okay. I like that. I must commend you. Now, what are the types of questions, you can use to dance around just to find out more of what really is going on?
Okay, if you want to find out how your child is doing, let's say in a subject like maths. You don't want to say, how was maths? Oh, your calculus. Tell me how that panned out today in school. Were there any new topics introduced? Do you want to share it with me? Do you want to discuss it with me? I know I don't know anything about calculus, but I'm interested. Teach me something you learned. The conversation starts. But if you ask him, how was calculus today? Good.
How did you figure out that there was always more to one answers?
Honestly.
Was it a painful experience?
Very painful.
Oh.
I mean, very, very, very painful. I remember, I say this all the time, and my son is graduated now, so I can happily share this.
Congratulations.
I remember the first term when my son started college. He got home on a Sunday, and when he got home that Sunday, I picked him up from the airport, and I said, how did everything go in school? And he says, excellent, very well. I had a great time. Mom, I'm going to have an 8. And okay, no issues. And then Thursday evening, I was happily sitting at work, and I got a note. This was his first time in university. He schooled in America. And I suddenly got a message, and it says, advice to withdraw. I'm like, he started school in September. This is December, and I'm thinking.
Just one semester.
He said to me he was fine. I mean, how fine can you be when you've just said to me you're having an A, and suddenly I'm seeing a letter that says advice to withdraw. And then I go back home, and I'm like.
It must have broken your heart.
Are you kidding me? And then he looks at me, and he says, but I thought it was fine. And then at that point, you are thinking, okay, is he fooling me here? But honestly,
he didn't even know it wasn't okay.
Till today, I don't know what he thought it was. But clearly, something wasn't right. And whatever it is that wasn't right, he thought it was right. And because from that point onwards, things changed.
Okay.
I took absolute control. Some people say, he's in college, you don't have to do that. Well, no. You support any child in whatever they need, at whatever point they need till they're good. At that point, I took over his canvas. Every day I would log in. And then I started saying, I'll call him. Hey, guy, you haven't submitted your homework. What's going on? This is an 18-year-old boy. I did this till he was 23. He graduated in May. I did this. I followed up with him. I would check it every day and say, Dibs, this homework is missing. What happened? And you hold your child's hand till they're ready to break free. It's not, I could have said, what, he can do it on his own. Yes, he can. But he needed me to push. And I was there to push. and I will push for every child that needs to be pushed.
You're a hero. Thank you so much. Oh, don't make me cry. Like, just to see how amazing of a mom you are. It is formidable. It's amazing. And, I like the fact that you said it doesn't matter the age. He was 18. Some people would say at that age, he's a man, he's an adult. He can drive, he can go out. He's no longer on the, the guardianship age. So just knowing that you did that till today. Now, what's different with your daughter?
My daughter is highly competitive. She doesn't need... Once you say go, she goes.
Oh, okay.
With my daughter...
I
never had a lesson teacher for my daughter. My daughter went to the French school. I don't speak a word of French. And she got double promoted. So she just goes. My daughter is a strong one. My daughter is a troublesome girl. You know when you say the girl that...
A strong
She's
girl.
like my boss. She's the one who controls everything. And she can be really hard. She can be really stern. So with my daughter she's the boss.
She has it figured out.
Yeah, completely. You don't even have to, because she's going to read and she's going to study and pass. If my son tells you he's studying for an exam, you need to be sure. Guy, have you done this? And I'm talking actually from experience, because at a point, my nephew, he's all grown up now. He was in his third year in school. We thought everything was okay. And the same thing happened. Only for us to discover that things weren't going as well as we thought. And then he was out of school. He ended up going back and doing well. But we kind of understood that things are not as straight for them. And you've got to handhold them. And you've got to make them responsible. If your child takes your money, you make sure he pays. Whatever it is it takes. And that is the responsibility that goes with being a child, with being a boy, a male child. We've got to teach them responsibility. If you take what is not yours,
there is a price for that.
Yes, you pay it back. If you take my money, you pay whatever you want to pay over 2 years. That's fine. You work to repay my money. It's what it is. Oh yes.
Oh, so that went from soft to like.
Oh, you've got to do it.
Mom.
You've got to do it. Otherwise, it becomes. I took it and I got away with it, so I can keep getting it. And then, what then happens when they get into the society?
I love that you said that. Thank you so much, because I've been willing to ask this question without sounding biased. It is largely believed that people let the boy child get away with more than the girl child. You know how perhaps a mom would tell her daughter, oh, you can't go to your friend's house, or you can't be late outside of the house after 6 p.m., 7 p.m. You can't bring male friends over. But for a boy, oh, there's a girl in his room, it's fine, he's a man. He can be out with his friends. Oh, you're going out, you're probably hitting the clubs or doing he's a guy, he'll figure it out, he's okay. Or your son dresses somehow, he has his hair done, colored up, and you just say, it's okay, he's a man, he'll figure it out. But a woman is a girl is like, where are you going to? What are you wearing? That makeup's too much. You should probably go back. Why is this so? A lot of people say mothers are hard on their daughters and turn a blind eye when it comes to their sons.
I think that boat has sailed.
Oh,
honestly,
really?
Yeah. There's something I say to my son every time.
I like that.
I want whoever marries my son to be able to come back to me and say, thank you, you did a great job. It is so important. And honestly, every day I'm constantly working at it. I say to him, you've got to learn how to clean your room. You've got to learn how to keep your toilet clean. You've got to learn to take responsibility. I want you to be I want you to be the pride of every girl. I want, and that sincerely, you've got to learn how to cook. You've got to learn how to talk. You've got to learn to stand up for the truth. You've got to be you. You don't want to be somebody else. You've got to train. That boat sailed. Honestly, it sailed a long time ago, because there are many times I look at some men and I'm like, where was the mother? What was she doing? I don't want to be that mother. And that's the truth. I want to be the mother of a child who is God-fearing, who is caring. I say to my son every time, grab the door for me, my friend. Every time you see me carrying bags, you carry. That's the way to raise male children.
Wow. Sorry about that. You know what? We're going to have so many suitors are going to come after you. Hey, my daughter, she's 20. See her picture. See his type. Yeah. But I like that. I like that you did mention that. Now, please, before we go on to open the phone lines, are there patterns that one might recognize in a young boy between certain ages that we should start looking at? Like, there might be something here that's not right.
There's a lot.
Oh, okay.
The first thing for me is, it's extremely important how the male child handle female.
Oh, boys.
If you find a male child who is constantly trying to bully either his sister or be rude to women around him, you've got to check.
Oh, okay.
Something isn't right, and you've got to put that into check.
Okay.
The female is not a weaker vessel. It's an equal vessel. So you've got to treat them with all respect.
Okay.
You don't raise your voice at women.
Ooh.
You don't hate women. You know, the same things you want for yourself is what you have to train your child to do.
Even if he's a guy.
Oh, yes.
And you're a lady.
It's so important.
Wow.
So I always say to him, when I see my son getting upset, my son is very calm. He's extremely calm. But my daughter is she can really...
She could be a hothead.
Even I know. So when I get to points where I see him really getting upset and I'm like, Dikuko, calm down. You mustn't raise your voice at her. You can't.
Oh.
You can't. I know she can be annoying. But that for me, that's the first thing you've got to look out for. Boys also tend to lie. A lot.
Ooh.
A lot of boys tell lies. And,
no.
I'm sorry if I'm stereotyping, but honestly,
no. But
boys
I mean, they might do that in their bid not to allow you get worried about something.
I hear, but a lie is a lie.
True. Doesn't justify it.
Yeah, and
True.
you've got to stop that quickly and tell them, why are you lying? I mean, and they tell lies on even the most obvious things. So, you can imagine.
Me.
I've seen boys tell ridiculous lies. And at the end of the day, you're looking and say, did you really have to lie about that? So that's something you need to watch out for. And the moment, there's a joke, who teaches human beings how to lie? It comes naturally. We're all born to lie. It just comes out. So the moment you see them lying and it becomes a pattern, one lie, second lie, you've got to sit down and have the conversation.
Oh,
now,
wow.
I need you to be honest. And you tell them, why are you telling lies?
So that way, you can get them to be accountable.
Correct.
What about the issue of peer pressure amongst boys? It seems like it's higher.
It is very big. I mean, the two things I worry the most about these days, it's about weed and drugs. Right now we're in a world where weed seems to be like cigarettes in our time.
Oh.
And you have a lot of young children doing weed, and unfortunately a lot of people have children who school abroad, and it is it's
the order of the day, normalized.
So the children don't seem to even understand that weed can be bad.
Marijuana, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so that is something we constantly have to keep talking to them about. You don't have to be who you're not. You're yourself. Be yourself. I mean, it's a constant conversation you've got to have with children. Even the adult. The funniest thing is when you think your child is an adult, you think, it's time for me to sit back. No. The conversations go on and on and on.
So when does this stop?
It never stops. I think it's the day you die that you stop being a parent.
That's why I always
your mom
say
still not worry about you. Your grandmother, if you have a grandmother, she's still worrying about you.
My father, speaking about worry, my father would just say, oh, you're good, right? How are you? How was work? Don't work too hard. You're okay. My mom would literally follow you down to how you sleep at night. I'm like, Mom, but I know it's all out of love. But sometimes I'm like, give me a break. She's like, even at 100, I will come for you. So I love that.
With peer pressure, I want to quickly say this. You've got to know your children's friends.
True.
Every single
very
one
important.
Of them. Let them come to your house. Because if you create a home where your children can bring their friends home, they're going to go elsewhere. And then you don't get to know what they're doing. You want it to be that every wrong they do, you pick it up, that you can correct and pray about it. If you don't pick the wrong, there's no way you can ever correct it. So let them come home with their friends. All their friends. Let your house be the home. And then you find out that it's easy, the peer pressure, you can then say, this person... And you've got to know the parents of your children's friends.
And the type of homes they come from.
Correct. It's the only way to actually move towards where we're going.
All right. If you're listening, please, I have the beautiful Mrs. Adebola Sobande who's here. you've been making this interest. Sometimes I forget to open up the phone lines. But if you're listening and perhaps you want to join the conversation, here's a way for you to do so. First off, we are very much on Twitter. Send us a tweet using the hashtag parenting today. And of course, our handle is at Lagos Talks 913. If you are trying to join via WhatsApp, you can call, text, or send at most a 60 seconds voice note. Now, the number for WhatsApp is 0809 234 5913. And other numbers you can call on if you want to have a chat with Mrs. Sobande and I. You can call on 0809 222 0913, 0809 234 5913. Also, if you want to call the women only line for the ladies in the house, perhaps you're a mom, an aunt, a sister, or you're you're probably a guardian. Yes, you can call, join the conversation. You can call on the women only line, which is 0809 191 3913. All right, so join the conversation. Now, Mrs. Sobande, how long do you think, you said it's a never ending process trying to, make sure your son and your daughter, but especially the male child, does turn out well. What is the difference between the world of yesterday for the male child and the world of today?
In the world of yesterday, the male child was a king. In the world of today, the male child is the one who serves. So you're raising a male child to take full control. He needs to learn how to be the father, the mom, the son, the daughter. And for him to do that, he's got to learn to do everything. Okay. He's got to learn to be able to look after the household. Cook for himself, take care of his wife, if he has any, take care of his neighbors, be considerate. He's got to be caring. He's got to be passionate. He's got to be hardworking. He's got to be versatile. He's got to be able to think on his feet.
Oh, really?
In the olden days, we pampered the boys. They came home and they had to be a meal waiting for them. No, these days you're training your child that when I come home from work, there's nothing wrong in you cooking. Let me make a meal at home.
Some people will say that is trying to, blur the roles between both genders. The women were largely seen as home, you're nurturing the home. When the man is eating, you're there rubbing his back and asking him, do you like it? Is the pepper too much? Is it salty? Do you like this type of meat? What do you want me to do? But now, just knowing that men have to go out there in a very unsettling world sometimes and come home and they still have to, figure things out. Don't you think they might feel overwhelmed?
But the women do the same thing. We work as well. And what I give to you, you've got to be able to give back to me.
Whoop. I like that. Wow.
So if I'm cooking you a meal, I also deserve for you to cook me a meal. If I'm tidying up the room, you should be able to lay your bed. Clean up the room, you should be able to lay your bed. Clean up the room, you should be able to lay your bed.